say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. All right, thank you so much. This is, I guess we go right into me, yeah? All right, so this is a little strange, so I apologize. My name's John Noble, and I'm the new president. Jenny Zinzer's our new vice president, and we have John Venson, who's missing tonight, our secretary, and I'll mention that a little bit in my president's report. I'll read some of this and try to be engaging at the same time, so bear with me. Prior to this meeting, we had what was called a old board, new board meeting to finish out the prior terms of the 3 board members and 2-year terms of the officers and committees. And then reinstalling the board members, Dewey, Jenny, and myself, based on the election this April, and along with voting and placing the officers and the committees for the next 2 years. I'd like to personally thank my fellow board members, David Burns, Marcus Schabacher, and John Venson, for their service over the last 2 years, as well as our previous officers, Jenny Zinzer, Sally Davis, and Dewey Weinbrenner, for their continued service and dedication to the community. I know Jenny would like to say a few words as our outgoing president and incoming vice president, so I will let her do so at this time, and it'll come back to me after that.
Well, you and I didn't talk about how few I was going to say, so maybe a few and then a few more. So, with the end of my 2-year term as District 115 board president, I wanted to take a moment to publicly thank my fellow board members for your support and trust. For the past 24 months, the 7 of us have worked together to develop a strong, cohesive, productive Board of Education. We are community residents who volunteer time, talent, and energy because we truly care about our students, our staff, and our community. These are challenging times, and therefore this is a challenging role. There is so much that you all give that others aren't able to see. But I want you to know that I see it, I value it, and I am tremendously grateful to all 6 of you for taking on this role and never wavering in your efforts to do what is in the best interest of our kids and our Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, and Knollwood neighbors. Tonight, I'd like to acknowledge my 2 board officers, Board Vice President Sally Davis and Board Secretary Dewey Weinbrenner. I am truly blessed to have had the 2 of you by my side during these past 2 years. Dewey, your thoughtful approach and calm demeanor is a stabilizing force that I have found tremendously steadying. On so many occasions, your analysis and perspective brought a necessary degree of clarity to the work we've addressed. You chaired the Education Committee and brought forth changes such as the One Lake Forest High School statement that will be more ingrained in who we are as a district and will be more evident in our school culture as we move forward. You see things through a lens that is intelligent and collaborative. And you have been a constant reminder to me and this board to truly see all sides of every situation, ensuring our decisions are wise and unbiased. I'm grateful for your service as our board secretary from 2021 to 2023, and I'm so happy that you will be a member of this board for 4 more years. So thank you. Sally, there isn't a single member of this Board of Education who comes close to matching the time that you have devoted to serving District 115. I personally have reaped the benefits of your history as a board member, your knowledge of the district, and of the decisions and events that have shaped it over nearly a decade. You have addressed people and situations with respect, an open mind, and a sincere ability to listen. You contribute 150% in every role you take on, and those roles are numerous. You are humble. You give so much to others, and you never seek attention or gratitude. Your personal viewpoint is hard to detect since you conduct yourself on this board as a true representative of your community members. You have chaired the policy committee, a job few have taken on with the same passion that you have. And I think there should be the Sally Davis policy, which would state that members of the Board of Education serve with grace, dignity, and service to all. You made my 2 years as board president educational, rewarding, eye-opening, and joyful. Don't cry or you're gonna make me cry. You were a true partner during the best of times and an unflappable comrade during the worst of times. You have been my confidant, my teacher, and my friend, both professionally and personally. I'm glad tonight isn't goodbye, as I look forward to continuing to work and learn alongside you. It doesn't seem sufficient to simply say thank you, but I will say it anyway. So Sally, thank you.
Thank you.
And John, thank you for allowing me this time during your first president's report. I have enjoyed my role as board president, and I turn the reins over to you with confidence beyond words. You have served as the Finance and Operations Committee Chair and our liaison to EdRed. You are an active member of the Facilities Oversight Committee, the Strategic Planning Committee, and the Portrait of a Learner Design Team. Your leadership will bring this board new ideas and insight that will certainly benefit the 7 of us, our administration, and everyone who is a part of Lake Forest High School. Best of luck, my friend.
Thank you, Jenny. I didn't write anything for you, so I will just say it. Very kind words. And we would normally do a little lovely resolution, but since you and Dewey signed up for 4 more years, we'll do that at a different time. But I want to just call the community's remembrance of the time that we entered into this, which was COVID, and the emergencies and the difficulties and the day-to-day activities of a board and all the duties we're not supposed to do that we were having to do, and involvement. And I just think your calm and willingness to listen to the community during that time was invaluable to all of us. And I think it was very difficult times. And I think up and down the entire government and communities, no one got it right. And I thought we did as best as we could, and I thought we stood out in a lot of ways. It may not be reflected in some people's opinions of that, but I think objectively looking at it, we did things very different than most of the people in this state and in a lot of other states. And I think we were willing to listen and take some risks, but also be very thoughtful in the considerations and steps. So I really appreciate your willingness to lead us through that time. And it would have been really easy for you and any of us to just step away and say, I'm done, because we get paid so much for it. So being volunteers and personally being just willing to put yourself out there and risk essentially time with your family and everything else. And so I just commend you for that. And I was just real easy to follow. So thank you. So going forward, so you'll be stuck with me for a little bit, so I apologize for that in advance. But I really appreciate, Jenny, you willing to stick through and help me, and I appreciate, Sally, as you help share and guide Jenny, and so Jenny, I will learn from you as well, and so lots of fun to come. John Venson will be chairing the Education Committee going forward. Dave Burns has agreed to chair Finance and Ops, which, again, everybody seems to be very excited about, getting rid of me, so that's awesome. So in any case, I would like to start my thank yous really with something that's happening this week, which I believe is Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. So I don't know if it's staff, it's just teachers, but I'm going to include admin as well. I know you're going to commit, but I want to have everybody. So I want to take a moment to really extend the board's appreciation to all the educators, staff and admin, for their continued commitment to the students and the community. I don't think it can be stressed enough. Just the amount of time, love, and energy that I see day to day it's time and time again. I've seen it firsthand. The care, the support, just the love of teaching and educating that exists in 115. I know it exists in 67 and other places as well, but I'm just so especially pleased with what's here. And I speak on behalf of the entire board when I say we truly appreciate the work and dedication that all of you and how you serve us all. Going forward, let's say so the last 2 years, and I think even the last 4 years have been filled with significant foundational work in District 115. I know there's bits and pieces people like to pick off and choose, but the creation of the One Lake Forest, the time that was served to create that, the portrait of a learner, and the strategic planning process, these three key things have allowed us to really involve and invest in our community and work with our community unlike any work I've seen previously. These efforts have allowed us to create a strong foundation and a framework for us to expand on and how we collaborate and communicate with our community. Some driving questions that I feel are important to share. These are things that were floating in my head before I started to serve when I was first asked, and continually to be in my mind as I think about this role and what we need to be doing. These are questions that I feel have to be answered, they have to be defined, and we need to continually ask them. And so here are just a few that are floating in this little mind of mine. Are we a successful educational school district? Are we a successful educational school district for our students, for our community, for our staff? What defines success for a school? What defines success for a student? How do we measure, and how do you measure success beyond a test? How do you measure leadership? How do you measure compassion? All of these things, I think, have to be embodied in terms of the metrics and the decisions we make and go forward, and the trade-offs and the opportunity costs that are in front of us. These were at the foundation of my initial metrics works that Sally Davis kindly asked me when I first came on, and we approved a set of these in 2019 prior to the pandemic. This was a beginning. These were questions that started to get answered and started to get addressed, but there were things that needed to get beyond this, and we wrote up somewhat of a framework and a study to look how we get beyond that. And so these questions remain today, and they are continually asked. And what I'm so excited about is that we are at a point now that we can take another step. And using this framework and this work that has been done by Matt, his team, and all of us in the community, we can take that step forward. Unfortunately, many of the existing state metrics, test metrics, they are siloed and they serve a very specific purpose. And albeit that's fine, and I'm happy to use them and incorporate them, they have multiple interpretations and can mean different things to different people. And unfortunately, that is a problem because they fail to act as true standards, and they limit what I believe is our actionable insight that we can take from them. And so Matt will discuss here in a little bit a beginning set of steps and an understanding of what we're looking to do from an administration's perspective and efforts that will take place this summer to create a true set of district metrics that are directly linked to our strategic plan and a portrait of a learner. And I'm confident this work will help us tell a deeper and more honest story of how we are measuring and supporting every student's educational journey, the whole student. And lastly, finally, a special acknowledgement to our community. My efforts to lead this board will be done with my best abilities, motives, care, and love of this community. I'm honored to serve all of you in this capacity, and will do all of the work necessary to help our district take the next best steps forward. Thank you. So with that, I think we're going to pass on to the Lake Forest High School updates, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's me. Oh, that was really loud. Dr. McHugh and I have this deal where he holds the microphone because I use my hands a lot and then I end up releasing it. That's who I am. But hi, I missed last month and I missed you all, but as you know, I had my beautiful daughter getting married. So I didn't actually put them in the slide deck, but I plan next month to do a year in review, sort of my top 10 highlights, if you will, and maybe I'll have to somehow slip that in there, but I can't figure out how I'm going to. I'll figure out how I'm going to do that later. But I'm really thrilled to be with you tonight. Matt told me, keep it tight, Erin. There's a lot of people and a lot to talk about tonight, so I'm actually excited to present my piece, which will be very brief, but most excited for us to hear for the last time from our student council representatives, Pride Haggerty and Lainey O'Neill, who will actually be doing a review for the students.
All right. Hello, guys. To start us off, we had the spring play, which was Big Fish, and that's going to be the last one of the year. It was definitely a success, and all the seniors said their goodbyes. It was sad, but.
All right, the next AP exams are currently going on. I know today was AP Lang, and yesterday I had my AP Calculus exam. It's kind of hard, so we'll see how that went. But yeah, that's something that's definitely keeping a lot of students busy right now.
All right, the senior breakfast, shout out to the APT board for supplying all the hungry seniors with a bunch of different food, and it was sad because this is our last one, everything coming to an end, but the senior commons was packed with kids, and it was fun to see everyone just wanting to be up there with all their classmates.
And then next we had Decision Day, which was another fun senior celebration. Basically on May 1st, all the seniors are theoretically supposed to have decided where they're going to go to college in the fall. So everyone wears their college t-shirts, and it was super fun. We got to see where everyone was going, got to see some people's last minute decisions. And yeah, it's just a super fun celebration. There was a big photo set up in the commons, a big LFHS sign and photo backdrop for everyone to enjoy. I actually had an AP exam that day, which was unfortunate, but it was super fun to see everyone.
And the picture right there of the map, they had that up in the comments where you could put a little pin on the place that you were going on the map, so by the end of the day you could see where everyone was going, which was kind of fun as well. And also, student council elections are going on right now. We just had our last student council meeting this morning, which was sad. We had a little slideshow and everything. But we'll be giving our roles to the next juniors that are coming up, and I can't wait to see what they're going to be doing next year.
And then last but not least, we just had prom this past weekend, which was so much fun. We have not had a really regular prom since pre-COVID, so we got to be back at a hotel venue this year, which was super fun. We were at I believe it was Hyatt Hotel in Rosemont, and it was super fun. The theme was Starry Night, and yeah, the food was good, the band was awesome, and it was just a really great event. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you guys. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you, Pride. Thank you, Lainey.
So
going
stay,
now?
you guys have to stay up there. So we have a couple little resolutions to read for you. So you get to be embarrassed in public. So we're going to start with you, Ms. Haggerty, all right? So resolution from the board, whereas Ms. Pride Haggerty has faithfully represented all students of Lake Forest Community High School, District 115, as student body president during the 22-23 school year. Whereas Ms. Haggerty has thoughtfully and thoroughly updated the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education about student activities and priorities each month during the 22-23 school year. Whereas Ms. Haggerty has, during her 4 years at Lake Forest High School, balanced participation in student council, school clubs, and other organizations while maintaining outstanding academic standings. Whereas Ms. Haggerty has led the Lake Forest High School student body by example with hard work, humility, resilience, empathy, positivity, camaraderie, and genuine care for others. Whereas Ms. Haggerty started each day at Lake Forest High School with a smile as she read the morning announcements and the pledge. Whereas Ms. Haggerty and the student body organized the largest homecoming dance in recent Lake Forest High School history. Whereas Ms. Haggerty's contributions to Lake Forest High School's life are recognized and greatly appreciated by the District 115 Board of Education and the District 115 school community they have served. Therefore, be it resolved that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education expresses for itself, as well as for the parents, guardians, staff, students, faculty, and citizens of Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, and Knollwood, its gratitude to Ms. Pride Haggerty for her steadfast work as a Lake Forest High School student leader. Be it further resolved that the District 115 Board of Education wishes Pride Haggerty only the best as she begins her college career next fall at University of Georgia. Finally, be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution will be entered permanently into the minutes of Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education. Thank you. And for you, Ms. Laney O'Neill. Whereas Ms. Laney O'Neill has faithfully represented all students of Lake Forest Community High School District 115 as student body vice president during the 22-23 school year. Whereas Ms. O'Neill has thoughtfully and thoroughly updated the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education about student activities and priorities each month during the 22-23 school year. Whereas Ms. O'Neill has, during her 4 years at Lake Forest High School, balanced participation in student council, athletics, school clubs, and other organizations while maintaining outstanding academic standings. Whereas Ms. O'Neill has led the Lake Forest High School student body by example with hard work, humility, resilience, empathy, positivity, camaraderie, and genuine care for others. Whereas Ms. O'Neill started each day at Lake Forest High School with a smile as she read morning announcements and the pledge. Whereas Ms. O'Neill and the student body organized the largest homecoming dance in recent Lake Forest history. Whereas Ms. O'Neill's contributions to Lake Forest High School life are recognized and greatly appreciated by the District 115 Board of Education and District 115 school community they have served. Therefore, be it resolved that the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education expresses itself, as well as the parents, guardians, students, staff, faculty, and citizens of Lake Forest, Lake Bluff, and Knollwood for its gratitude to Ms. Laney O'Neill for her steadfast work as a Lake Forest High School student leader. Be it further resolved that the District 115 Board of Education wishes Ms. Laney O'Neill only the best as she begins her college career next fall at the University of Richmond. Finally, be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be entered permanently into the minutes of the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education, and good luck on your tennis at Richmond, and congratulations for winning the state championship 2 years in a row. Awesome, awesome feat, so thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So when I thought about what to present this month, knowing that I had to keep it short, and I plan on doing something longer next month, we recently had a contest, if you will, and it was all about LFHS's 7 Wonders, like the 7 Wonders of the world, but at Lake Forest High School. So I thought I'd report out officially on what the winners were, and they will be of no surprise to anyone here, but as I'm watching Pride and Laney, and I'm looking at our Brush Bestie team here, and our Students Demand Action group here as well, representatives, I'm just thinking, gosh, front and center should have been students. Like, that's the wonder of the world for us, are the amazing students we have who are leading, who are learning in all different ways. But our students did not vote for students. So with that, I'll just go through the 7 wonders of Lake Forest High School. Not surprisingly, that clap out drum line, next year I have to get the earplugs. We have one tomorrow as we clap out badminton to state. But man, it's loud, but it is so fun. And just to see the students who might, some be a little bit embarrassed, but for the most part are just enjoying themselves, and students supporting those students. It's just amazing. As you know, we clap our freshmen in during the freshman experience. Next week, we're going to clap our seniors out during the wellness walk, so it's a little bit emotional. So all of these opportunities, clap out, clap in, it's just a part of our culture, and it's wonderful. The grind, that actually made the student list. I was amazed when I first came to Lake Forest High School and I was touring it as your new principal, and I went into the grind and I thought it's like Starbucks, but it's here in our building with vegan muffins and sushi and all kinds of things. But our students really have used that as a central hub to collaborate, sometimes to miss class, sometimes to ask to miss class to go and get coffee. But it really does give, in my opinion, that campus sort of college vibe as we begin to bridge these students into the world, that they have that freedom to use our grind. So it's a wonderful spot. The ELS basketball game, we've reported on it, the happiest day of the year, the best day of the year. It's just so heartwarming when you see, gosh, pretty much all of our students at some point come into our very small competition gym to support their classmates in a big way. Dr. Montgomery, in a big way. I tease him for saying that a lot. That Ivy entrance. It's amazing whenever students are taking surveys and they notice things that you wouldn't, that are very important to them, that you wouldn't think that they would notice, and that the ivy around the entrance is something that the students and staff feel like makes Lake Forest extra special. And I know as we're talking about the referendum and renovations, we want to maintain the integrity of our beautiful campus and school, and this is just one of those features that really resonates with our community and our students. This is big. This actually, it made me a little nervous the first time I ever saw it, but everyone in here knows what I'm talking about. Mr. Miles, during usually competitive seasons, sometimes just because the students have been extra messy in the cafeteria, but he has this megaphone, and he does a loud honking noise, and then he yells at the students to get them motivated to cheer on their classmates. And he tells them, Lake Forest is a place of excellence. We are not mediocre. We are excellent. You are excellent. And the way he can get 500 students pounding tables, pounding their feet, yes, they are excellent. It's one of the most amazing things to see. Like I said, the first time I saw it, I was like, what's happening? Is this allowed? He's blowing a horn. I thought, duck under the table. Something's happening. But it's amazing to see someone who really is legendary. And Mr. Miles' father actually worked at Lake Forest High School. I think he told me there has been a Miles at Lake Forest for 70 years. I think he said 70, pretty close to that. He's, I think, almost at 40 years. So just an amazing, his heart and soul is with Lake Forest High School, so he's definitely a wonder. We have that beautiful public room, too. That's something that isn't it interesting how the natural features are making their way? The public room, those special pieces that really, when you step in, it feels like you're stepping back in history, but our students, our staff, they appreciate that little glimpse of history because it's part of their future, and it's wonderful that it's making the list. And then finally, the beautiful front lawn. I've heard tons about the front lawn since I've gotten there. This can't happen, don't do this, don't do that. But it really is just awe-inspiring when you're driving by the school. I remember 10 years ago driving by Lake Forest High School with my husband as he was showing me Illinois, and I didn't know what this place was. And I was like, is that a college? I mean, I'm looking on my phone, is that a college campus? But it really is just breathtaking from the lawn rolling into the school too. So those are the 7 wonders of Lake Forest, and we even have this really cool bulletin board up. If you are at the school, you can see all kinds of images and through the years of our 7 wonders. Then I thought I should probably mention we have graduation because we will have graduated the next time we meet. And we thought about what should our program look like, what should the front page look like, because we're changing a little bit this year. So I had a great idea. I'm going to share it, but we actually moved away from it. It's down here in the corner. Do you see who's peeking out? Hey. We actually are going to use this image on the front, but don't worry, seniors, they removed me from it. It's just this beautiful drawing that was commissioned by the foundation we're going to use. Don't worry, Suzanne, we didn't actually damage it. We photoshopped my little Bitmoji in there. So graduation is very soon. We're super excited about June 3rd, excited about seeing our seniors out on the lawn, and just excited about celebrating another great year at Lake Forest High School. With that, though, speaking of something great at Lake Forest, we have our business incubator as our school spotlight, and we have Professor La Scala, business entrepreneur teacher extraordinaire, who is going to be sharing about our incubator program with pitch night coming very soon. And then he has one of our award-winning teams here who will be talking about what the business incubator did for them and what it's also allowing for them now and in the future.
Hi, my name's Phil La Scala. Do I have to talk to the mic? And I am one of the business education teachers. I've been at this school now for 18 years. Had a lot of your kids in class, and this program has just been so dynamic, and a lot of your sons and daughters have taken the course, and we got a lot of people in the audience, obviously, Faith. And then we have our Brush Bestie team. But I was also told to move it along a little bit too here. So we'll make this really quick and effective. But it's an unbelievable dynamic program. We have a goal up here: provide students with a challenging, engaging, real-world learning environment that allows them to learn and experience the art of entrepreneurship. It's different than any other course. Well, I would say probably 9 years ago, Joe Pulio, who really got this thing going, and myself were told to go to a meeting at Barrington High School. And we had no idea what we were going to attend. Barry Rogers was the principal at that time, and they just said, hey, go to this meeting, check this program out. We get there, and we're in a big auditorium, and we're the only teachers in this place, Joe and I. It was all principals, superintendents, Chamber of Commerce, and we're looking at each other, and we're like, what is going on? Why are we here? Why did we get chosen to go here? But we were like really into this right away, and it's been unbelievable. It's changed my life. I know it's changed Joe's life tremendously, and hopefully we've changed a lot of the kids' thinking as well as with the different experience of what goes on in the incubator. But we came back from that meeting. We went straight to our boss at the time was Jim Sullivan. We went straight to Jim, and we're like, Jim, we got to get this done. And Joe really powered through the help of the foundation, and obviously with a lot of people, and we got this thing done, and it's still going strong. We have 3 sections of it this year. We had 12 teams this year. Next year we have 4 sections of it. And it's going really, really well. And it's so fun to watch the kids mature from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and watch them grow. That's probably the best experience for us as teachers, to see them grow throughout the year. How it works is we have we have the student in the middle, obviously, and they form groups, usually of 4. And we have a mentor for each group, and it's a community member that usually helps out. And now we've had we've had parents, but we've had alumni come back. You know, we have Rudy Dell came back this year. He's like 32 years old. He looks like a high school kid back in class. I mean, he was there this morning, and I walked into my classroom, and he's sitting with the kids, and I'm like, I felt like I was teaching Rudy again, you know, back 18 years ago. But each group gets a mentor that they have to meet with every week. We have coaches come in to help with subject matters, and then we have a board of advisors, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And Suzanne, I won't ruin Suzanne's thunder here tonight, okay? So they get a lot of support, which is awesome. The two main components of the class is the MVP pitch. It's a minimal viable product pitch. It's like a concept testing where they have to give a big presentation to our foundations. We put a board together, and they have to give this big pitch to test their particular product or idea, whatever they decide to come up with. And then we have our big academic pitch tomorrow. I welcome you guys. You're more than welcome to come in anytime. But we have our academic pitch tomorrow and Thursday in the morning and afternoon on Thursday, but just morning tomorrow. And there is, like we said, there's 3 classes, 12 teams. 8 teams are going to be doing the pitch. So what happens when they do the MVP, in between the MVP and the academic, they find out if their product is viable or not. So we lost 4 groups from that 12 that didn't think that their product was viable or not in their testing, okay? So we have 8 teams going in the next 2 days. 3 to 5 of those teams will be going to pitch night on May 18th in front of investors and the foundation. It's a really powerful night. It's unbelievable experience to be at. And you get chills in your spine just seeing these kids perform. They're unbelievable. Faith did it last year, and she was great. And here's just some pictures of some of our teams, all right, that you'll see. But this is like the most important team because they're here tonight. But not only are they the most important team, but they have a great story to tell you. I'm going to let them do a lot of the talking for us because that's what it's all about. It's about the kids. And every time I see these guys and I see all those, they come back and help out. They came back and talked to our classes this week. It's been great. So let me welcome these guys up here, all right? And Allie, Colin's not here, but Julia and Lauren, come on up.
All right, so I'm Allie.
I'm Julia.
And I'm Lauren. And we are Brush Bestie. And so basically we created this 4-in-1 makeup tool.
Hi, ladies. Can you speak into the microphone? The people on live can't hear you. Thank you.
So we are Brush Bestie, and we created this 4-in-1 makeup tool our junior year. And pretty much that whole year, we were kind of just figuring out how to start our business. And at the end of our junior year, we competed at pitch night, and we were granted $5,000 to start up our company. And throughout our senior year, we kind of just continued with our business. And at the end, we created our exit strategy was to sell off our company to a merchandising company called DM Merchandising.
Yeah, so through this company, we actually were able to create a contract. And so we kind of knew going into college, obviously you get really busy and stuff like that, so it's going to be hard to kind of keep up with it personally. So DM Merchandising, who we're working with, decided to take over our product, and for every Brush Bestie sold, we get 8% royalties, and they're also maybe planning on creating a line, and so for every product they create in a line, we get a 3% royalty.
Yeah, so when we were entering the end of our senior year, we were really committed to this product, and we really didn't want to just let it die out. So after talking with DM Merchandising, this connection was made through LifeWork Co-work, which is an uptown business that we were given through Pitch Night, and this year, they have told us that the product is expected to launch in June, which is very exciting. And here's a picture of the packaging and the expected product. In terms of our senior year, we were able to fly to Austin, Texas to attend South by Southwest and give sort of an elevator pitch, which was an awesome experience just in terms of like practicing our presentation skills and getting in front of a big audience. And these two actually went on WGN last year also to just kind of give another pitch of our product and put our name out there. So yeah, this program has been a really great experience for us. We hold it near and dear to our hearts, and I think it's helped us a lot in college, especially like we're all kind of considering doing something in terms of business. So yeah.
So that wraps up the business incubator presentation, and it's just, these girls did this during COVID too, by the way. So their year was mostly online most of the time. So it's amazing what they got done and accomplished during that year. I think it's even an extra, a success story for them. All right. Thank you guys. Thanks for having us, and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I can comment on this. I'm hoping the principal gets one of these things. Ladies, before you leave. I'm hoping the principal gets one of these. It's like a 4-in-1 tool, and it sounds awesome. And there's business, but then there's also the fact that they like invented a product. So they're going to major in business, which is going to teach them about all of these things, and they're going to go on to lead amazing companies someday. But there's just the creativity, the critical thinking, all of the elements of Portrait of a Learner that really go into creating a product. So thank you, Mr. LaScala, for presenting tonight. And then, of course, to are you now the former chairperson of the foundation? Have we almost? Suzanne Sands, who has been a great champion of our business incubator and a great champion for our students. So thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Dr. Lennart. Matt, or Dr. Montgomery, sorry.
Thank you, John. Thanks, T. Okay, good evening, everybody. My report tonight is going to cover 4 topics. And the first one is discussing a group of individuals that we've been seeking out to help us with our newly passed referendum, and we're calling that the Capitals Project Advisory Committee. We ran an application period, and it just recently closed, and I'm proud to report we have 36 responses for consideration. And right now, the committee is the internal committee is screening all of the applicants, and we will be finalizing later this month the individuals that will be selected. And these 5 to 7 individuals of the applicants will help advise the internal staff, as well as our construction firm and our architect and engineers, around the project that will take the better part of 4 years. This was a group, or a similar group was created in the 2006 project, and we are excited to reinstate this and continue to partner with our community. We have many, many experts that make up these wonderful communities, and I'm thrilled that 36 people expressed interest, and I know we will have a wonderful group. The second item that I want to touch on is action planning and metrics, and I know over the last 2 years we've talked a lot about the Portrait of a Learner last year, and then ultimately the strategic plan for both districts that was board approved in each respective district in March of this year. Now we have been working or beginning the process to develop action plan and metrics. And the commitment that I have made to both boards is the team will present action plans and metrics for the first year of the 5-year strategic plan in September of each year. So we're taking April's gone already, forgive me. We're taking May and then the summer months to create the action plan and metrics, and then we will present them for board approval. To give you an idea of some of the things that will be a part of the plan that we will be unveiling. It will include a Gantt chart that monitors our progress throughout the school year. It will include who is responsible, the duration of the time frame, who is being impacted within each given initiative. And the plan was developed originally, remember we had goals, objectives, and strategies, and we'll be packaging the strategies into initiatives. The example you have up here is 67, because we are modeling out action plans for both districts. So this is just an example so you can see the pieces and parts. There will be separate action plans and metrics for each respective district. The thing that is most challenging about this work that the board or boards and I have been wrestling with is how do you measure our progress to ensuring that the portrait of a learner is actually coming to life? How do you measure things that there aren't measurements for? And that is the work that's ahead of us, creating those metrics that will track our progress, and bigger than saying, did we check things off the list, but how are we actualizing what we as a community are hoping for our graduates as they move through our continuum from preschool to LFHS grads. Next topic is a little summary of, this is brief. I spent a day with Allie in LFHS. I do student shadowing. If you remember, I do this annually, once in 67, one in 115 each year. I've done this for several years as a superintendent. It's kind of like one of my favorite days, but it gives me this quick snapshot into the student experience. And I think, from my vantage point, helps me ask more thoughtful questions, make more thoughtful decisions with the team, knowing that oftentimes when you're in this building, in a meeting room, you're making decisions that are directly impacting students, and they're nowhere to be found. So I think keeping students in the forefront of our decision-making process is paramount to the why of the work, and these types of experiences help give that much-needed perspective. And I will tell you, teaching is, I've shared this before, teaching is my greatest passion. So as I move from teacher to principal to superintendent, you get farther and farther away from the classroom. So selfishly, these are some of my happiest moments in any given school year. This week, Mr. Noble touched on this, is Staff and Appreciation Week. Of course, we appreciate our staff every week of the year, but this is a special way to highlight and celebrate the work that they do for our students each and every day. And we wouldn't be us without them, and they are the very fabric of our work. So a profound thank you for our staff and teachers. I will finish with gratitude, and the gratitude that I'd like to finish with is with our board. Last week, I had the pleasure of being a part of honoring 3 outgoing Board of Education members. Some of you were there as we honored individuals that were terming off the board or not coming back for a second term. This week, we get to celebrate individuals who are continuing their work for a second term. And I don't want to underscore how grateful I am for those individuals who signed up for another 4 years of work for our community. And last week I gave a word. Oh, this is gonna love this. So I gave a word for every board member, like the word that comes to mind or the phrase that comes to mind for the board member who was leaving. And Suzanne is here, so hers was gratitude, I think. Rich Chun's was joy, and Jennifer Mason Merrick was service, I think. So if I were to give a word for each one of the ongoing members or words, here's what they would be. So I told Dewey's last week. Dewey would be heart. Because as a board member, I think out of all of the 14 board members I have the pleasure of working with, he is the one that demonstrates care and compassion. That's his number one. He starts there and then works through any problem of practice. For Mr. Noble, I would say mind, because I have seen very few brains that are as brilliant as his. He will deny it. He will say that I am completely out of line saying that. but he is a thinker at a level that I would only aspire to be. And that is a value add in the most wonderful way. Last week, I was poking a little fun at Miss Zinzer, and I said that I would not give her her word or her words, and I really had to think through it. So there's 2 words, and it goes to a movie reference, and I called her, and she said, "You're just calling because I have to be with you for another 4 years." That's not true. I needed to think through it at the moment. There is a movie that some of you may know, and it's an older movie in the 80s. It's Steel Magnolias. And it talks about, the whole theme is how men are supposed to be made, and I'm going to sound chauvinist, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just telling you what the movie is. Men are supposed to be made out of steel. That's what the line is. And in a most horrific time in this movie, everybody moved away, and a mother was the one that was shouldering the load in this family's grief. And when I think of strong women in my life, women who lead the charge and make a difference, Jenny comes to mind. And I want to thank her for her leadership as board president. And 2 of those strong ladies are here who I had the pleasure of working with as my board presidents, and I consider myself more than lucky. So thank you all for your continued service. That concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Montgomery. But yeah, for the record, I'm basically a dumb jock, and this is my penance for missing all the school I missed in high school. So I'm happy to do it, but thank you for the kind words. All right, so we have come to the moment of time of public participation, and we will now hear public comments subject to our board policy. Lake Forest Board of Education welcomes public attendance and participation at all meetings, and it is hopefully utilizing these guidelines. Participation will be maximized both in the terms of fairness and organization. So I think we've read this before. Do I need to read the rest of this? So if there are those that would like to come up, just a simple understanding is that you do kind of have 3 minutes. Not that we wouldn't want to hear you longer, but if you do have that, please send us emails or information. We'll be more than happy to respond. But within this framework, usually we have a limited amount of time, and we'll have a limited amount of reaction because we're really here to listen to that. If we have clarifying questions, we'll be more than happy to interrupt you. But with that said, if there's anybody from the public that would like to make a comment, please do. Just for note, Tiana will keep track of time for us, so please don't yell at her for cutting you off if half has to happen.
Hello, my name is Aaliyah Attar. I'm a senior at Lake Forest High School, about to graduate, and a co-lead for Students Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, a student-based organization with the goal of ending gun violence, a tragically normalized issue that plagues our generation. We want to firstly thank the board for such a rapid response to our resolution. Students Demand Action is still hard at work with community engagement efforts. We've reached out to local legislators and look forward to our scheduled meeting later this month with our state senator, Julie Morrison. Over the past 3 months, we have engaged in community work, drafting the resolution, getting over 300 petition signatures for our safe storage resolution, and hosting a walkout at FHS.
Hi, I'm Sophia Czar. I'm the co-lead for the Students Demand Action charter for Lake Bluff and Lake Forest. I want to thank the board for the responsiveness and for putting the Secure Storage Act on the resolution, the Secure Storage Resolution on the agenda tonight. We urge the board to vote yes tonight on adopting the resolution, and we know that this resolution is but a small part of preventing gun violence and helping in the fight against school shootings. And we will continue to partner with the community to take steps to keep our students safe. However, it is also a sign of the commitment our community has to the safety of our children. Our work will continue after this resolution passes, and we will continue to make ourselves available to the board as a resource in executing the commitments detailed in the Safe Storage Secure. We're gonna do it one more time. In the Secure Storage Resolution. On behalf of grateful LFHS students, thank you again.
Was that 3 minutes?
You're great. Thank you so much. And also, just one clarifying point is that the items during this public participation, they need to be referenced to the action items on the agenda tonight, you're fine. So you guys are great. But anybody else that would like to speak, please, that it would be in line with what the agenda items, just like the young ladies just did for us. So is there any other comments or folks that would like to speak tonight? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to the report and discussion from Ms. Suzanne Sands of the Lake Forest High School Foundation. And so you're not allowed to leave right after, because there's some kind words that John Venson wanted to share in his absence. So if you are going to leave, let me know so we can say those before you go. So Suzanne, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So good evening. I am currently in my final weeks of my 4th year serving as the Lake Forest High School Foundation Chair. It was hard to hand off during the pandemic. On behalf of the foundation, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to speak with you for a few minutes this evening. Our mission, as you can see up here, is to support, enrich, and enhance the Lake Forest High School experience for all students, faculty, and staff by investing in educational excellence. Our grants provide cutting-edge technology, inspire innovation across all departments, deliver tools needed for hands-on learning, cultivate creativity, drive college and career readiness, allow students to access real-world experiences, support wellness, and create more collaborative classrooms. It is only through partnership with our community that we are able to fund amazing grants for our high school. This school year, families donated over $74,000 during registration, and our recent spring luncheon raised close to $70,000 more, including sponsorships. At the event, I shared that from our lens, the recent referendum passing will likely increase rather than decrease our opportunities for partnership. We see the referendum funds as the bowl and the ice cream, while we are here to provide the hot fudge, sprinkles, whipped cream, and cherry on top of the sundae that is Lake Forest High School. This year's luncheon featured LFHS's very own Dr. Matt Dewar as our guest speaker, and his talk was entitled From Heart to the Mind, Optimized Learning and Well-Being Through Heart Rate Variability. He captured the full attention of our guests, and we are grateful to him for joining us. We are also grateful to Dr. Lennart and Dr. Montgomery for taking time to meet with us throughout the year. We are grateful to Mr. Burns for being our representative from the board, and to Ashley Malik and Corey Homer for serving on our board as our faculty and technology liaisons, respectively. We really could not do what we do without the collaboration from all of these folks. Which brings us to Grant Day 2023. I know you heard about it at a previous meeting, but I'm going to share it with the community once again. This year, we funded $137,000 worth of grants across 12 new grants and 1 standing grant. One of the most exciting grants is the acquisition of an industry-grade CRP enclosed plasma cutter. This will make our high school the only high school in the area with this tool. It will allow students across art, engineering, robotics, woodshop, science, and beyond to design and create their own unique metal pieces. This grant and many, many more are described in detail on our website. Since our reach is truly so broad, I'm sharing some visual highlights of our grants that have been awarded over the past few years. In this slide, from left to right and top to bottom, you can see students at work in the Digital Arts Lab using equipment and software granted by the foundation. Students were welcomed back from prom over the weekend, in that middle picture, with this projection mapped out by students of the prom theme graphic using technology that we granted. Students in biology class are using VR headsets and sitting at mobile lab tables that we've provided. Student musicians at the talent show are using the RMA sound system that we upgraded and overhauled a couple years ago. Students in wellness are using climbing equipment that was granted during the pandemic to make sure that there were enough clean pieces of equipment for as many students as possible to be using the equipment during class. TEDx LFHS has received a number of different AV equipment grants over the years, and that equipment is used beyond just TEDx. And then here you see students in the tech crew who are using both the intelligent spotlights that we purchased for them recently, as well as the sound system. So, you've already heard a little bit about the Business Incubator. In addition to funding grants, we support the Business Incubator. In 2014, as Phil said earlier, the foundation actually partnered with the high school to start this program, granting the Reimagined Classroom and the initial curriculum. The incubator class, as you know, is a junior level class. In addition to our 3 board members that are dedicated to supporting this program, we solicit and organize 40 to 50 volunteers annually to provide the coaches who teach individual lessons, the mentors who work with the teams, and the judges who provide the feedback, determine the pitch night participants, the winners, and the funding that they get. Our MVP grant of $5,000 set aside annually allows the teams during their minimum viable product stage to have some seed money to do some of the work that they do, and that is also allocated by the judges based on the requests of the teams. And then we also solicit $10,000 a year from community partners to have a pitch night prize fund. We intentionally do not solicit more than that because we do not want to provide all the capital that they need, because raising capital is actually a part of the business process. So we want to help, but not get in the way of them needing to do some of that themselves. But in the end, it is truly a partnership between the staff, the foundation, volunteers, the administration, and our community at large. Pitch night is coming up on May 18th at 7 p.m. Those who are awarded funding get to start their businesses by taking the accelerator course in their senior year. Later this week, as Phil said, we have the academic pitches, and I just have to say that I've been doing this now first from a communications perspective and then emceeing for the last 4 years. And being engaged deeply in this program has truly left me in awe of our students. They're just amazing, and this program, and a deep appreciation for the experience that they get. I can't tell you how many parents and students have said over the years, this experience changed my life. We had a promotional video that went out today, an email for people, and the first student who's talking about the impact of this program for him in the video, he goes, well, I think what I've gained most of this class is that I've failed a lot, and that's taught me a lot, and it's just so true. So even those who don't make it to pitch night, who experience that disappointment, know that they have learned and grown so much. I have watched students who could barely speak in front of adults become comfortable with me saying, okay, so I need a video of you talking about that grant that we just gave your team. Could you just come over here and do that? And on the spot gives me like the best 2 minutes of footage. And this is someone who could barely speak at the MVP. So it's been a pretty amazing thing to watch. Lastly, tonight, I am also thrilled to share a new initiative that we are in the process and we have been building over the last 2 years. So the foundation is entering a partnership with District 115 in support of LFHS alumni relations. We are in the final stages of formalizing the parameters of our work together, and it is our hope that this collaboration will serve to support our high school for years and hopefully decades to come. I'm looking at Sally Davis because I think it was 5 years ago maybe, we were at Exmoor at the fundraiser for the foundation, and she said, Suzanne, why don't we do more with alumni? And we're doing it. So it is coming. The LFHS Alumni Relations is committed to fostering enthusiasm among alumni by partnering with Lake Forest High School to honor the past, celebrate the present, and build the future. And we are going to serve as an umbrella to those activities. And before I say goodbye, we are looking toward next year, and we know that we will have lots more opportunities to invest in educational excellence, and we could not do any of this without the partnership that we have with the district and the generosity that we receive from our community. You all help us provide the sprinkles, the whipped cream, and the cherry on top. So please visit our website at lfhsfoundation.org to learn more, or reach out to us at lfhsfoundation@gmail.com to get involved. And I thank you for having us present to you again this evening.
Suzanne, if I'm not mistaken, you're rolling off of your position as president, is that correct?
I am stepping down as chair. We are going to have the wonderful Maureen Fitzgerald stepping up into the role. I am not leaving the foundation, however. I still have a 7th grader. I have a junior at the high school. I'm not ready to be totally done.
All right, well, as a parent liaison and a board member that's worked with you for a couple of years now, I just want to say thank you for you. Going to the meetings and seeing you lead the foundation group, it's hard to imagine a team that's not more inspired, motivated, excited about being part of the organization that you lead, knowing, I mean, you're a beacon of hope to know that what you're doing will impact tons of students, and they feel it. You're an incredible leader, a rock star. I know other people will come and do a good job too, but I've just been honored to be there and watch you lead the group and see what you can do for our school. So I'm just very grateful for what you've done, both with the foundation and of course the school board too. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That was very kind.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will read John's comments in his True North. We'll be there in just a moment. I'd like to move on to our committee reports. The first is the Education Committee, and I know you're rolling off, Dewey, but in John's absence of being the new chair, we'll let him do it the next month. But I'd love you to give us a little update, if you don't mind terribly, on the Education Committee, if there is one.
No, we met the morning of our last board meeting, so I don't have an update other than to say I've been so impressed with Matt and Aaron's leadership of the educational enterprise that is Lake Forest High School. You come at it with love every day. You come at it with really a very thoughtful infrastructure and overview. I think One Lake Forest is your wisdom. I think it will lead us into the future. I think it is what we need as a board and a community. I think the work that you're doing to engage and lead our teachers to take ownership of the next 20 years of education at Lake Forest High School it's just amazing to watch. We get little snippets of it here, but that's the Education Committee every time we meet. So thank you for your thoughtful leadership. It's been a great honor. My favorite part of being on the board, and I know it's in better hands now, but I look forward to listening to John and hearing what's going on there. And I may threaten to show up from time to time just to see what's going on. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Dewey, and thank you for your service on the committee leading that. I know it's not it's a lot. It takes a lot of energy and time. So thank you. Finance and Ops Committee. So I'm handing the reins over to a very qualified individual, Dave Burns. So if Dave, you want to give a preview of what's coming. So there's not really an update in terms of anything I did. So it's Dave, please.
All right, well, thanks, John. I appreciate your trust in me to take over the job. You've done an amazing job for the past 2 years, so I will certainly do my best. Going into this role, I'm both excited about these next 2 years, but also recognize the extraordinary amount of responsibility I'm taking on, as we all are, specifically related to the referendum. And so that is certainly something that looking forward to ensuring that we as a board are using the community's investment in our school efficiently, appropriately, responsibly, and will do my very best to communicate that as we go through this, whether it be through board reports or other methods of communication. This is something that both I, in the Finance and Ops Committee, or as a board member, but also in the Finance and Ops Committee, it'll be an absolute focus point for something that we need to communicate with the community, and we'll be tracking. So taking that very, very seriously, and you'll obviously hear more about that. As John said, we didn't have a Finance and Ops Committee meetings since the last board meeting, but we do have one next Wednesday. If you're interested, please come. We always encourage public participation. It is on Wednesday of next week. On the agenda, we're going to be talking about the year-end projections. So that's always an interesting conversation to see how the year has gone and where we think we're going to land and what changes and why those changes may have happened. So that's going to be an interesting conversation, and also how it might affect future years. So that's one. The facilities update, we'll be talking about how things are coming along with projects that we've been funding with the $15 million bond that we took out. And then certainly the concept of referendum planning will be a big part of it. As Dr. Montgomery talked about, the advisory committee is still being put together, and while that's happening, we're already starting to put together preliminary plans on how we might package the projects together and the timing. So we'll certainly talk more about that and look at a draft on how we're going to model this financially from a tracking perspective. So definitely a full agenda for next week. So look forward to reporting out on that in the next board meeting.
Thank you, Dave. Policy, Ms. Davis.
So the Policy Committee of District 115 met with our counterparts in District 67 on April 18th, 2023, to go through the latest press updates. You'll see a long laundry list of those for first reading in tonight's action items. There are 2 items that will come up, and I'll just give you the preview now so I don't have to do it when we're voting on them. There are 2 where we are waiving the first reading, and that is only because they are minor, and the language is putting us, harmonizing our language once again with District 67. So it's a catch-up in relation to that. 2 more things. Number 1, many of the changes were relatively minor or updates in that laundry list of items that were updated, but many of them were updating language specifically around Faith's Law, which was a law passed in Illinois to prevent episodes of grooming of students, and what's called the Faith's Law Trailer Bill, which was a cleanup over the summer of last year to finish closing those loopholes. I want to read you what press says about the Faith's Law Trailer Bill. It further addresses grooming and aims to end, quote, passing the trash, the cycle in which an employee engages in sexual misconduct, is dismissed, is hired by another employer unaware of the sexual misconduct, and then engages in sexual misconduct again. The reason I'm reading that to you is because John Noble is the person who started using the phrase passing the trash and talking first to IASB and talking to our state representatives, and when the first ones didn't want to talk about it, moving on to the next ones. And the concept and around that is because John Noble took a germ of an idea, learned how Michigan had handled it, and then just kept socializing it, advocating for it. And I don't know why it lands for me here, but in Press Plus, they picked up this viral phrase that John Noble began to use to get interest or understanding in the bill. So that's pretty flippin' cool. So thank you for all of your efforts in regard to that. What? You guys don't read Press Plus when it comes out?
I want to go to sleep.
Your quote is in there. Second thing, if you go to the new and improved District 115 website, you will see that we are now subscribers to Press Plus. Why does that matter? Because we have a searchable set of board policies, because Tiana set that up for us. No longer do you have to go to a table of contents and then open individual PDFs to look at them. Not only is it searchable by phrases, you can highlight and keep your favorite policies. So it is far more user-friendly. It gives you quick updates on what changes have been made since last time. We've dragged ourselves into the 21st century, and it really does go toward being more transparent, more available. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We were in the meeting, and people were searching terms, and I was like, see, this is how it should work. So awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. On to liaison reports. So Ed Red, which is still mine, Not a real big update. Some things have come through, but we basically, I think there's been some slips and other things that have been done as some of the items are getting passed or not passed and moving to the governor. We'll have more of an update come in June. The nice thing I think we've got with District 67, there's a new Ed Red rep there. I think, is it Mark Remus, I believe, will be taking that. And then so hopefully what we're able to do is let Mark take a little bit of the lead on this and partner up as we had been, and then also get back with District 65 on that and start to move forward. But most of our priorities are still the same, and we'll look to incorporate some new ones as we come through into the summer. So True North Educational Cooperative, John Venson is not here, but he did want to say that there was not a lot to update from last month's meeting. And he said the update that he has attached adequately covers for us here. He is going to be taking on the responsibilities, if I'm correct, as secretary for that organization, which is very kind of him, and that's awesome. But he did want me to, he said he'd be remiss not to add a mention about Suzanne Sands stepping down from the Leadership Council and her role as president. Suzanne received well-deserved accolades and recognition for her service to the council and her various roles. True North benefited greatly from her knowledge and leadership skills. I am not the least bit surprised, and thank you as well from us for your time there, as well as your time from 67 and leadership there, so thank you. So with that, Dave, real quick, parent support organizations.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I think Suzanne did a more than fine job on the foundation report, so we'll pass that. And as it related to the APT, they didn't have an official meeting, but they had their spring luncheon last week. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend, but it looked like a very nice luncheon. Boosters, the Booster Madness event was a huge success. I don't have the exact numbers, but it was big improvements from last year. I think it was actually, they actually raised more money with less cost. So as a fundraising organization, it's always good to not have to spend a lot to raise a lot. So big improvements there, and it was just a lot of fun. The two big things that they're working on right now are the OSA, the Outstanding Senior Athlete Awards. Applications are all submitted at this point and are being reviewed by the athletic department and along with the Boosters Committee to just sort through those. And the vote on that will be coming up in their meeting in May, along with votes for the ACE grants. These are the grants for different departments within the school to supply equipment, technology for the different athletic departments. Those have well been submitted and will be voted on at the May meeting. That's all I have.
Great, thanks, Dave. So we're going to move into the action items, and the first one, I'm not going to call a motion yet. I want to be able that we could read it, is the adoption of the resolution to support safe firearm storage. So you'll have a chance to comment and do this in a moment. But I'd like to turn it over to Jenny Zinzer, since she was doing this at the time when it came up and has championed this through. So I'd love her to have the chance to read this into record and add her comments as needed if we need to. So the adoption of resolution to support safe firearm storage. Ms. Zinzer, please.
Thank you, John. Whereas the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 is charged with supporting student academic achievement and personal growth by providing an environment that feels and is safe for students, and where parents and community members can feel confident in the same. Whereas we recognize the right of all Lake Forest High School students to learn in a safe and secure environment, and acknowledge the importance of that environment in realizing our district goals and Portrait of a Learner vision for every District 115 student. Whereas there have been over 192 mass shootings in the United States in 2023, and as of the date of this resolution, whereas our community was devastated by the July 4th, 2022 mass shooting in Highland Park, Illinois, in which 7 people were killed and dozens were injured. Whereas the United States has had 2,069 school shootings since 1970, resulting in 1,937 injuries and 684 fatalities as of June 2022. Whereas guns are now the leading cause of death among American children, adolescents, and young adults between the ages of 1 and 24. Whereas 1,200 children and teens in the United States die by gun suicide each year, most often using guns belonging to a family member. Whereas an estimated 4.6 million children live in households with at least one loaded, unsecured firearm. Whereas 75% of school shooters in the United States obtain weapons from their own or a friend's home, and at least half of these guns were unsecured and easily accessed. Whereas households that secure both firearms and ammunition are associated with a 78% lower risk of self-inflicted firearm injuries and an 85% lower risk of unintentional firearm injuries among children and teens compared to those that secured neither. Whereas keeping students, teachers, and staff safe is the responsibility of all adult stakeholders in our community. Whereas for the last 20 years, school districts across the country, including Lake Forest Community High School District 115, have allocated taxpayer dollars to fortify our schools, provide professional development training for administrators, teachers, and staff on safety and security protocols, and utilize instructional time to practice drills for crisis situations with students and staff. Whereas the rising threat and realization of gun violence strikes at the heart of our shared goal of continuing to provide a physically and emotionally safe educational environment and future for the students in our community. Whereas the time is now to further educate our community and amplify preventative measures to increase student and school safety. Therefore, be it resolved that Lake Forest Community High School District 115 supports and encourages the secure storage of firearms so that they are inaccessible to children and others at risk of harming themselves or others. Be it further resolved that the District 115 Board of Education and Administration will ensure that the district meets annually with a broad spectrum of local community stakeholders, including elected officials, law enforcement, mental health professionals, parents, students, teachers, and staff to monitor and respond to threats of violence and to continue to develop, implement, and review policies, procedures, and programs that prioritize student safety and freedom from violence in our schools. Be it further resolved that the District 115 Board of Education and the superintendent will continue to collaborate and partner with community, state, and national partners to develop adult education opportunities for district parents and guardians, focusing on secure storage of firearms in their home. Be it further resolved that the District 115 Board of Education directs the superintendent and his team to create and distribute communication at least annually to parents and guardians that highlight adult education opportunities and resources that explain the importance of secure firearm storage, as well as the legal obligation of adults to prevent minors from accessing unsecured guns. Adopted this 9th day of May 2023. And in closing, I just would like to thank Sophia Czar, Aaliyah Attar, and the Lake Forest and Lake Bluff Students Demand Action Committee for bringing this to the board's attention in March, for your interest in showing up in April to ensure, and fortunately to hear, that we did intend to move forward in this adoption, and I'm very happy that you were able to rearrange your schedules and be here today to be a part of hearing this resolution read and voted on.
Thank you, Jenny. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution to support state safe firearm storage?
So moved.
May I have a second? Thank you. And before I have a roll call vote, is there any other comments that would like to be made? Thank you, Jenny, for walking and getting this through and dealing with the different input. And I appreciate John Venson, as you mentioned before, having a nice voice in his additions, and just a small comment in terms of how this board works. And I think the intelligence and thoughtfulness of each one of you in contributing the different ideas as we move forward. So thank you for that. Are there any other comments at this time? Seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Dr. Schaubacher?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberner?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Zenzer?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 2. Item number 2, approval of 2024-2025 school year calendar. May I have a motion to approve the 2024-2025 school year calendar?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
May I, any notes on this or no?
So the 2024-2025 school year calendar looks and reads almost identically to previous years. We're using the same sort of template for the weeks off and aligning with D67 and D65 as well as much as possible. So thank you.
I think families will be happy about that. Thank you for that. Have a roll call vote.
Dr. Schaubacher?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberner?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, so I'm getting better at this. May I have a motion to approve the facility remediation project at West Campus?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments on this, or can we move to a vote? Jen,
Just
please.
wanted to add a little bit of color to this. This is a planned project that precedes our actual construction for transitions. So this was known and planned for. We're going to try to do some of the work ourselves down there as kind of our site prep, which includes removing the lockers, which will be done with internal staff, and then this separate remediation project that we want to complete before the actual construction starts. So it was budgeted and planned.
Great, thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Dr. Schaubacher?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberner?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the 2023-2024 ECRA contract renewal?
So moved.
May I have a
Second.
Thank you. Matt? Dr. Montgomery?
I'll start, Jeff, and then you can fill in if I've missed anything. We went back and forth. ECRA is the service that really is looking at student achievement and monitoring that. And while we currently think that it is underutilized in some aspects, we are most curious if it will be exceptionally valuable as we look deeper into metrics development for next school year. Additionally, one key component that fell off my radar that was brought to my attention last night is ECRA enables us to get access to data to our comparable districts that we would not have access to unless we had this service contract. And that has been paramount in how we've analyzed our performance relative to our peers this year alone, and I expect that that would be very much an area of focus as we look to next year in addition to developing the new metrics. So that's what pushed me to the point where I was a believer of recommending this contract to you. Jeff or Aaron, do you have anything to add about this? It's okay if you don't, I'm just putting it out there.
There is an aspect called Portrait of a Scout that was commissioned, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago that we haven't utilized to its fullest extent. COVID hit, I think components of that sort of fell to the wayside. I'd be eager to see if that would be integral with regards to the metrics that Dr. Montgomery is speaking about.
And just to add a little color, my first meetings on the metrics actually were with Laney and ECRA around that, as well as Jordan. And so we talked a significant amount of those things, and COVID did absolutely get in the way. And at that time, we basically were stepping into the first year of seeing PSAT data linked to SAT data and showing the growth metrics. And what was interesting today, ISB just published one of their first growth kind of ideas and concepts. It's not in production yet, but it's interesting to see where they're trying to go. We've already been there, I think, on a student-by-student basis. And one of the other action items that we're going to be voting on, I believe maybe it's in the consolidated, the consent agenda, which is the consolidated district plan. I don't know if any bothered to really read that, but the consolidated district grant plan, the details within that speak to the different areas of how the school functions in regarding to identifying kids with growth issues and having then dollars and resources asked to support those. I know the school actually goes after every single one of those students. This is simply a mechanism to have dollars refunded back to us for the work we're already doing. And so at a granular level, that becomes a lot of the action items. I know it comes from the ECRA data, and to feed that up a level to be understood by the community in terms of the other educational metrics is what I'm very encouraged to see. And that was the bridge that just didn't exist. And I think there's a lot of work to do and make sure you're using the right one. So I'm in full support of actually being able to do that and utilize this. And I think it's a great tool. And if it needs to phase out in time, so be it. But I'd love to put it in your hands and Matt's and Dr. Montgomery's hands to another year or so we can see how it can really be fully utilized and if need be phased out. So just that additional color. Any other comments?
So I was going to ask a couple questions which were answered by the comments, but one which we haven't is, does ECRA allow for a differentiation around minorities? And if not, is there a tool which does that?
ECRA will allow for us to build out dashboards as we would like to build out dashboards. We haven't looked at subsetting that piece as much as we currently have. Honestly, since I've been there, we just use it. We have been using it for benchmark data and then PSAT and SAT growth data, and that is just by student and student ID number. But it does have the ability to for me to create a million different types of dashboards and scenarios to see if we have groups of students who we might need to target more so. It gets tricky with ethnic data because how do you target a group of students with ethnic or racial data? It gets a little trickier than just pulling out the students who aren't performing at a certain level and then offering them additional services or tutoring.
But if the test has that data in it, ECRA can disaggregate by that. So certain tests, it's not something that is asked on the test. ECRA can't do that. But if it does, like this, for state testing or SATs, it is, so we could disaggregate by that if we wanted to do so.
I mean, we're spending $40,000 on a tool which we're underutilizing, and you know, one of the areas I've been asking since the 2 years I come on here is how do we address those underserved communities, and how do we make sure that they are not the ones left behind?
I think if you look at the consolidated district plan, we do have other tools we use to pull out to identify students who are struggling and make sure that we place them in supports that will help them. So, and that's in the district plan. Could we use ECRA as a tool to further extract? We absolutely could.
I was just wondering if it is a tool, so I want to keep the administrations and the school senior leadership focus on that we're looking at all kids.
You know, for me with ECRA, I'm not a data scientist, so I don't fully, I mean, I look at tools like that as an opportunity to work with a data scientist or a research data scientist expert. And what they do have is when they talk about, when ECRA reports growth data for a certain cohort of students, they actually have the data for that student going back to when they started taking nationally norm referenced standardized tests. And then they have a solid method that they use to determine, based on how that student has grown the last 5 years, how much they should grow, what their projected growth is then that year from PSAT to sometimes SAT or PSAT to PSAT. And I think for me, especially this past year, given you know, our push to really begin or to re-embed college readiness skills, that was very useful to us. So we looked at the growth and the projected growth. That is something that a data scientist knows that their calculation is accurate, not Aaron Lennart looking back for a data scientist, and we use that to place students in interventions.
Great, thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Zenzer?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberner?
Aye.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Consolidated District Plan? There it is.
So moved.
A second?
Second?
Yeah, thank you. Do we need to touch this again?
I feel like it's gotten a lot of play over the past couple topics. But for those members of the viewing public, the Consolidated District Plan is a way, it basically allows us to answer questions to get federal grants, one-stop shopping. I mean, I think it is a 39-page document, but it does make the process, it streamlines it for us.
And there is 2 date mistakes on page 14, so you can fix that if you would like. I don't know if it matters, but I did read it. There you go. No, it's really impressive in terms of what it does and allows, and I think, again, what I liked is that I think we should maybe pull some of that stuff out so that it's visible to the community, because I think it tells the story of what's happening, because so many kids that we see are good, they're going to college doing things, but so many that might have help or need help along the way, it is absolutely happening, and I think that tells exactly what we're doing, and most of it we're not getting grants for. So when it happens, that's great, but again, it really does tell a narrative that I think unfortunately gets lost in the detail in the day-to-days. That should certainly be highlighted by the staff and the other folks in the school, so thank you for that.
Yeah, and a big thank you, Dr. Jenny Sturpin spearheaded this, but there's a team of people listed on page 2. An incredible amount of time and effort goes into this. This is just one of those behind-the-scenes thing that just happens, but this is hundreds of thousands of dollars for our kids that comes out of this. So thanks to everybody involved.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Ms. Zenzer?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher?
Aye.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve the waiving of the first reading of updated policies 4:50 payment procedures?
So moved?
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sally, for the understanding of that. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Ms. Zenzer?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Tiana. May I have a motion to approve the second reading of the updated policy 4:50 payment procedures?
So moved?
Second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Just to be clear, it should be 450 and 480. I'm sorry if it did not update on your sheet, but it should be both of those.
So I don't have, sorry?
So it's 4.50 and 4.80.
So yeah, so that's the second reading of that. Lovely. So we need to do the 480, right? I did not do, okay, so may I have approval to waive the first reading of the updated policies for 4:80, accounting and audits? So I need to.
So moved.
Second?
And may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher?
Aye.
Mr. Burns? Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Zenzer?
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, so let's try this again. May I have a motion to approve the second reading of updated policy 4:50 and 4:80, payment procedures and accounting and audits?
So moved?
Second, please.
Second.
May I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Ms. Zenzer?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the first reading of the recommended policies from press issue 111? And do all these need to be read or no? Okay.
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Weinbrenner?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher?
Aye.
Ms. Zenzer?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, so we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda with the request of a board member. Are there any outstanding that Marcus, are we needing to? Yes. please.
I wanted to discuss the Olson contract, if we can pull that out.
All right, so if we'll pull the Olson from that, if I could. So may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items, including approval of disbursements, payrolls, financial statements, March 2023, approval of the human resources report, hires, changes, absence, leaves of absence, resignations, stipends, activities, athletes, test prep, summer school, extended school year hires, approval of the 2023-2024 RJB properties contract renewal, approval of designated levels of authority of summer work 2023, approval of 2023-2024 renewal of Illinois High School Association membership, meetings of a joint special meeting April 11, 2023, meetings of an executive session April 11, 2023, meeting of regular minutes and workshop April 11, 2023, release of executive session minutes September 2022 through February 2023, not including the minutes of the executive session held on September 15, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Zinzer?
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberger?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, so before we do the Olson, would like to call out one item that was just approved in the Human Resource Report. So Aaron, if you'd be so kind to elaborate on that item.
Look, I'm grinning from ear to ear because he's been waiting and he has to be smiling with kids tomorrow morning early. So for those of you who don't know Frank Lesniak, Frank, which I don't think is anyone in this room, right? Mr. Lesniak has been a special education teacher, dean of students, and serving the Lake Forest High School community for the past 22 years. His entire career has been spent at Lake Forest, and it is with great pleasure that you've just approved, and I announce that Frank will now be the Assistant Principal of School Operations, replacing Dr. Alan Wallard, who has moved on to become the Director of Innovation for True North. So Frank, this is him actually overseeing now the Dean's Office. As you know, we've updated our rights and responsibilities from Code of Conduct, as well as overseeing student testing, substitute management, among other duties as assigned. But we're thrilled that Frank is stepping into this new role. We are thrilled for this promotion, and we know that Lake Forest High School will be in great hands. So Frank, as the Assistant Principal for Student Operations, would you like to say a few things?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm incredibly humbled and honored to take on this new role. I mean, it's the only place I've ever worked. I really, really love Lake Forest High School. I love the kids. I love the community. I love the people I serve. So when I accepted this position, it was the kids are the most important thing to me. So I was drilled pretty hard by Patrick and Aaron about, are you sure you want to do this? Because, like Matt said, this takes you away from the kids one step further, right? And for me, I was comfortable with my decision because I know that ultimately things that I do in this role will help impact kids, and that's where I'm at, So I'm really excited about the opportunity, humbled to serve and take on this new challenge, and thank you for accepting me and letting me do it. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Very excited, and thank you for taking on the role. And it was, I think, my first time meeting you as a new board member. We were in a very difficult conversation in a different room in this building, and just the calm and the way you handled that meeting and the discussion and the topic, and it was very easy to tell where your priority and your care lies. So thank you for that, and thank you for all what you will do going forward. Appreciate it.
Now go home. You should go home. Congratulations, Frank.
All right, so to go to the other item that is open, I'd like to get a motion for approval of the 2023-2024 Olson contract renewal, so we may discuss it.
So moved.
Second.
All right, conversation. So
an annual renewal for Olson. We do this with a shared service partnership with both Lake Bluff 65. We share routes with them. In addition, we also do bid this with 67. We continue to believe that this is not the environment to go out to seek a new provider. In a tough labor market, it is unlikely that we would secure additional bids, and if we did go to market, potentially it would be much higher than the 5.6% increase that we are presented to you here tonight.
One comment or question, I know it's come up before, but just your color on what the alternatives really are there, because I know they're not attractive, and I know we have different years and different issues with the busing and all the fun stuff that goes along with that. But if you could just give a little bit of a picture to it, because I think, unfortunately, this is something, and it happens a lot in many different businesses and situations government-wise as well, that there just are not a lot of great alternatives, and you kind of pick the least of the worst. And not to say that they're a bad company, but it's just that I think it's sometimes challenging on the busing side. Everybody would like a little bit better, but it's not like I don't believe there are 17 busing companies you can walk over and go get bids for. So if you could just give a little color to the environment and the choices that are really in front of us at times trying to deal with something like this.
I think two comments kind of related to that. One is we are not unique in that our bus company is not perfect. I think that's probably a topic that is brought up probably every time I get in a group with another bunch of my colleagues. And the second part of what you're talking about is there decent competition within this space that we could improve either our service or we could improve our price? And I don't believe at this time that there is. There is not a lot of competition in general in this area. Probably only 3, maybe 4 that are active within our region. We do have some requirements. I mean, we certainly don't want buses coming from Schaumburg, for example, every day. So we do want to be generally within our region, so we don't look at things as, Illinois-wide or wider than that. So what we have noticed is that individuals that have gone out to bid, other districts that have gone out to bid, most recently just received bids from their current provider. No one is looking to expand their business when, one, you've got to acquire capital, so you've got to go out and purchase new buses in order to serve your routes, and you have to be able to successfully staff those new routes. It is difficult enough right now for any school district, not just our school district, but any school district to keep full staffing in the transportation area right now. I mean, it's just an unusual place that we are, and I think we watch that market, and if we ever feel that the time is right, certainly we would go out to bid. But right now, that wouldn't be our recommendation. And I can tell you that Lake Bluff, who we jointly bid with, and 67 is in the same place.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, sir?
Yeah, and Dr. Hermes knows what's coming, right? So the question is, I would go, I understand the predicament we're in regards to finding alternatives. The one thing is where I would continue to plead for is that we get more affirmative with them when it comes to idling. And so I would go back and say you can't get the 5% increase because you keep idling, and you're idling your 5% away. This is really a money issue too. When buses stand hours on end, and most of the times not in super cold weather and just running their engines. And it's a cost factor for us, because my understanding is we're paying for every gallon of diesel they put into those buses, and it is an environmental issue, and we have non-idling zones around our schools. Other schools have that, and these drivers just blatantly ignore it. And I have sent you at numerous times documentation of that, and I don't know what you do with it, but I do think that these renewal times are maybe an opportunity to reinforce our desire that these drivers get educated and adhere to the policies we put in place. We put these policies in place for a reason, not for people to laugh about it.
All right.
Any comment?
Just as I knew what you were going to say, you probably know what I'm going to say. But I do act on the emails that I do receive. I I've only received them from you this year. So I would encourage, if others have noticed this behavior, then go ahead and email either myself or someone through communications or through anyone else in our department, because I can't, I can't see all. I don't see every school they're at. I don't see those as they're driving. So as you notice these things, just let me know. I do reach out to them. They do reinforce it in their drivers' meetings. They do put it in their newsletters. We have asked that the school staff also, as they're seeing the unloading and waiting for kids to load at the end of the day, if they notice the same thing, that they can, they reinforce our policy as well. It's difficult, and this is the conversation we've had, it's a difficult thing to police from our end. Like, how do you manage this? How do you put anything in that could be punitive or a fine? Because we're not every single place all the buses are. So I think we need help with the community. If you notice these things, let us know. And we certainly do reach out to Olson and try to reinforce that with our drivers.
All right. Thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Zenzer?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberner?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher?
Nay.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, Tiana. FOIA requests, Samir Vidra, 3 of 3 completed. Joanna Meadows, patch editor, 1 of 1 completed. Melinda Cressy, 2 of 2 completed. Jeannie Jordan, data research partners, 1 of 1 completed. Greg Ney, 1 of 1 completed. Christine Valet, 1 of 1 completed. At this time, I'm not seeing a whole lot, but this is our second chance for public participation on non-agenda items, and welcome for the public to come in if they'd like to do so. Seeing none, we will move on to announcements. We are not meeting in the rest of May as it goes. So May 29th is Memorial Day, no school for students and staff. I do believe the band plays in Market Square as well as in the village in Lake Bluff. So go out there if you'd like to go. Last day of school is February, June 2nd. Saturday, June 3rd will be Lake Forest High School's graduation at 2:30 on the front lawn at Lake Forest High School East Campus. Our next board meeting will be Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. And before we adjourn, I simply just want to give my thanks to my fellow board members and some final thoughts for the community that we will be working on many of the things we talked about tonight, along with some communications and really communicating as aggressively as we can a shared vision from this board as we have in the past, and we'll continue on that. So I look at my role not so much as leading as much as shepherding and sherping us from what Jenny has done so kindly for us in the past. So we're here to listen and engage with all of our community members, and we will look to do so on a continued basis. So Tiana, thank you for all the notes and the work. I appreciate that. Made my life work a little bit better, and I think we got through this okay. So a motion to adjourn, correct? May I have a motion to adjourn the Lake Forest High School Community District 115 Board Meeting for May 9th, 2023.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a voice vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
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 Adjourned.